Okay. So good morning, everybody. A couple of things. Today will be a short demonstration. I have other matters to attend to, so I won't be able to work with you for the full hour. In addition to that, a reminder that next week is spring break, so we won't be having any webinars. It'll give all of you time to catch up if you're falling behind. Anything else? Do any of you have any questions pertaining to MobiRise or the lessons that we've been working on so far? We're pretty far along with the lessons. We have, after lesson, this lesson, when we complete lesson 9, which will probably be after spring break, we'll work on 10 and 11, and that will pretty much be it. We will do 12, but 11 is the most important one to complete. And then at that time, you guys will be working on finishing your MobiRise website and working on your Dreamweaver website. No questions from any of you? No? Okay. So let me put this down here. So what we'll be working on today is the contact page for Meridian Green Start. And it's, again, I think you guys can handle now the asides, sidebar and sidebar 2 to enter the information that they provide. What we're focusing on today, though, is the main content. And there's a couple of things that are going on. One is that we're indenting the paragraphs. And as they are indented, we're adding a border to the left and the bottom, and that's it. That's all there is to it. However, having said that, this is a time when we have to check, and when you're designing your own website, something you need to pay attention to too is that when you resize the page, what does it look like? And that looks pretty nice so far when it's on a small screen, but when it gets on a smartphone, notice how it changes. We've removed the left border and left just the top and the bottom, and that's it. And for a very small smartphone, that works. So we will be adding to this a media query in addition to what we'll be working on here. Okay, so let me switch to the Untitled document that I have here. And again, I remind you, all of you, because it's easy to forget, that make sure that you go to Site, Manage Sites, and that you're selecting a site that you've created for our class, and that it's linked to lesson 9. Okay, both the root folder and the contents of the images inside the root folder should be in there. So what they've done here is that they provided, again, some content for us to add. So this is a rich text file format. So I'm just going to say select all, and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to come back over to paragraph tag down here. I added contact Meridian Green Start by hand. That's what you do for the H2 tag. And then, or it might be an H1, I don't remember. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead in here, make sure that the paragraph tag for add content here is selected. Don't click inside, because then that's the edit. You want to make sure that it's highlighted in blue. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paste. Okay. And that retains all the paragraphs. Okay. Now I can come back where it says add content here. I'll make sure that it's highlighted in blue, and I'll delete it from here, or I could delete it inside the, if I have a split view, I could delete it from the code view as well. Something that you need to remember, and it's easy to forget, is that if I click in here and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'll just delete the, add content here from here, and it's gone. But you'll notice down here, number one, there's extra space from add subheading here and the next area of content that we have. And that's because if you look at the code view, we still have that paragraph tag that's still there. And that will add space between lines. So I'm going to come back and I'm just going to highlight the opening and closing tag in the code view and get rid of that and make sure that that goes away. And now you'll notice that the space is reduced between the lines here. So I'm going to leave for general information or general questions and information, contact, them by email. And when you go to Now what I need to do is I need to put each of these groups inside section tag. Then in addition to that, I mean, it doesn't matter what order you do this, but then I guess I could do that from here. Let's go ahead and change each of these tags. I'm going to change the paragraph tag here to an H2 tag. So with the not with it edited, but when I select it like so in blue, remember, it's clicking on that P. And if I hit Command T or Control T, I'm going to switch to H2. Okay. So that changes the appearance of that. I'll do that for each of these. So we're going to come down here, we're education and events. Same deal. I'm going to change them all to H2 tags. Command T. So either that or you go inside the code and you change it there. It doesn't matter. It depends on my mood, I suppose, as to what I do. So that we're breaking it down into its separate groups. Transportation analysis. So we have to do that for each one of these groups. And again, I want to make sure that paragraph is selected. Command or Control T. Change it to an H2 tag. Return key. And that adds that. We have one more, I think. Research and development. Okay, Command T. And H2. Is there another one? Yeah, there is. Information systems. So again, these are just what these chapters are doing is that depending on the kind of content that you may be adding to a website, different issues that you may face, different ways of adding content. These are some suggestions for how to do that. So because these are H2 tags, we want them to be green, what we have done before. But remember what we did is we put them in sections. So that's what I need to do. I need to select, and I can do that either from here or I can do it from code view. I could also go switch from live view to design view. And that might be an easier way to select some of these groups. So if I select everything in here like so, I got to make sure, notice that the opening tag for H2 is not selected. So it might be easier for me just to make sure that everything is selected. So if I select, I don't want to select the whole article. So, it's just going to be, from my perspective, and it's, I don't know. I'm just going to add the section tags by hand. It will be easier for me. So I'm going to go in and right before the H2 tag and right after this P tag here, let me pull up the code view so you can see this a little bit better. As I have each of these groups that I need to attend to now. So right after the subheading goes here, actually I can get rid of that, but it says for general, and here's right after the P tag and before the H2 tag, I'm going to put in a section tag. And watch, as soon as I do that for the first group, so let's scroll down to the end, put the closing tag. Watch how the H2 tag changes. And as I scroll down here, notice this is something that for any H2 tag inside a section tag changes to that green, bold, different formatting. So I need to do that for each one of these. Okay. So actually that doesn't go there. I missed the part. That goes right after the email closing tag. So I'm going to cut that and got to make sure that I put it in the right place. There we go. That's where that belongs. And now before the next one, so I'll just hit the return key and I'll put in a section tag here. And then I'll scroll down. And right after this next one, again, sometimes when the text is all bunched together, it's kind of difficult to figure out exactly where it is you're supposed to put some of these. That ought to change that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the return key and put in another opening tag for a section. And make sure that they're all grouped together correctly. So that one will be for research and development, and that will be just before the information systems. So I'll put in the closing tag first. So just remember, anytime you add a tag, it will all, there are some exceptions, but you have an opening and a closing tag. And you just have to remember to do that. Otherwise, it won't function properly. So I'm going to go ahead and add a section tag to this one. And then after that, but before the closing tag for the article, and you'll notice that it's, because I'm missing that closing tag, you'll notice in line 92, before where the closing tag for the article is, it's highlighted in red. That's an indication by Dreamweaver that there is a mistake in the code. And notice as soon as I added that closing tag, the red went away. It's not always an indication, telling you what's wrong. How would you know where there is a closing tag for an article that it needs a closing tag for a section tag? But it's just letting, alerting you to make sure that you add the closing tag. So I've done all of that. So I can go ahead and I can reduce the size of this. There we go. So all the, we've changed our H2 tags, make sure that they look right. We put them inside section tags, but now we want to format it a little bit further. We want to put a left border and a bottom border on here. And we want to do that though, because the borders will go but right up against the edge of the paragraph tags. We need to inset them a little bit. So to do that, I'm going to come back over here. And again, it really doesn't matter what order you do this. I'm going to bring up CSS Designer. And I'll select all. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have green styles selected. Okay, global. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a tag. And this is going to be dot profile. It's going to be a class. Dot profile. Okay. It's a custom class that any div that contains the class profile will have these settings. So I'm going to click inside any one of these paragraphs here. and everything is a little bit slow. Make sure that the whole section is selected. Okay, and then with the section selected, and I have to do that for each one of these sections, but I'll do it one at a time to show you the difference of what happens, is that there's a little plus right here. And so when I click on the plus, now I can add that class ID, and that will be .profile. Make sure that I spell it correctly. Okay. So now that I've added that, and I haven't added it to the other groups yet. Okay. Now, did I miss one? I think I may have. I think education and events need, yeah, education and events needs its own section. So I missed one. You can see how when I'm selecting section profile, it's affecting multiple groups. So I skipped. So I'm going to come back in here and I'll add a section tag for that. And go to the end of that. Education. Or maybe I forgot. Hold on here. So that would mean that this one needs a closing tag. There we go. So now they each have their own separate group. So education and events. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and select in here anywhere, just to make sure. Okay. Now make sure that the section is selected and see what's highlighted. And that's what I want. Whoops. No. Let's go back. Yeah. So the first one where we have profile selected. So now I can come back to profile and I can add the proper attributes that we want to work with this. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go in and we change margins and padding. So on the margin, I mean, I'm just going to use the shorthand method. And remember, it starts at the top. So at the top, I want 0 pixels, px, and then put a space. And then to the left and the right, I want 25 pixels. And then to the bottom, I'm going to use 15 pixels. And then the last one, again, is to the left, 25 pixels, px. And as soon as I finish that, it should there you go. Notice how it inset all of that to the left and to the right, and it changed the margins to the bottom. And now to the padding on the left, I want to make sure that it gets shoved over a little bit more, and I want it to be 10 pixels. So padding, I'll just put over here instead of shorthand, I'll just put in 10 pixels right here. Okay, so all the paragraphs get pushed over, and the H2 tag as well. It gets shoved over even a little bit more. And so now what I can do is I've provided room, air around the text to be able to put a left border and a bottom border. And then all I have to do for the rest of these is make sure that they are contained, or not contained, that I add the class profile to each of them, and I should be set to go. And then the last thing that we'll do today is that we will also make sure that for the media query for a smartphone at the bottom, that we change the profile for that and make sure that that works as well when it's viewed on a smartphone. So there are all these factors that you have to take into consideration, the size of the screen that it's going to be viewed on, and any number of things in order to get this to work properly. Lots of variables is what I'm trying to say. So we've got that. Now let's go ahead and let's look at the border. And so I only want border to the left and the bottom. So I'll select the bottom. And I think they want 2 pixels. Let's go ahead and change that. 2 pixels to the left. And the style is we want to be solid. So come on, style, solid. And the color is unique. So I'm going to use a hexadecimal number here down here. And they want it to be, it will be octathorpe, hashtag, whatever you want to call it, £. It's CADAAF. It's just some light green here. So I'll go ahead and I'll add that to our colors here. Okay. And bring that down. So let's see if it's properly added it. And it has added it to the left. So now we need to add it to the bottom. We're going to do the same thing to the bottom, but it's going to be a little bit larger. So to the bottom, this is going to be much larger. It's still going to be in pixels, but will be 10 pixels. Style is going to be solid. And color is the same one that we used before. It could be a different color as well. So but we're going to use that. I don't want black. That's the default. I want this green. But that just shows you what you can do. By doing that, there we go. Take a little bit slow. But notice the difference between the unformatted groups and the one that we've just changed here. Aesthetically, it looks a little bit more pleasing, number one, but number two, it aids in the readability of the text. Isolating each group and working with it so that not only does it, you see a separation between the group visually, but it also aids in the readability of the text. So the only thing more that I have to do for this now is for each of these other groups, I need to add the class profile. So I'll click inside each one of these, okay? And then make sure that the entire section has been selected, and then add the class here. So I click on the little plus sign, and I put in .profile. For a class, you always start with a little dot. For an ID, we'll see later, and you can add as many classes and apply it to as many things as you want when you have a class. That's a degree of specificity. When you're, if you want something even more specific that we will be doing in a later exercise, that can only be applied to one element on a page, that will be an ID. That will start with a £, or octathorpe, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to each one of these. So I'm going to go ahead and select section for each one. And then add the plus sign here. And then put in .profile. Okay. Hit the return key, and that's formatting each of these. So I'm just clicking inside each one of these. It doesn't matter where it is. And then with the tag selector, making sure that I have the entire section selected, not the article, but the entire section. Okay. So select, add plus, and then add .profile. Okay. And I didn't want to add a paragraph there, so I need it. But again, notice how that by adding that paragraph, it adds space. I don't want that. Okay. There we go. Get rid of that. Okie doke. And I just have one more to do here. So I click inside it anywhere. My system is really slow. Select the section in the tag selector. Click on section and make sure that it's highlighted in blue. Add plus and dot profile. Hit the return key twice. And we're done with a good part of this. Okay. So we only have one more thing to do, because now watch, when we reduce this in size and it goes all the way down to a smartphone, you could leave it, I suppose, but on a smartphone that might be a little bit too hard to read. So they're suggesting to us, and that's not a bad selection, I'll just leave it here in 426 pixels or less. Okay, so what we want to do now is that we want to select green styles, but we want to specify here instead of global. Remember the media query that we added here. Okay, maximum width 426 pixels. Well, we need to go ahead now under selectors. We need to add one, and we're going to add dot profile. Okay, return key twice. And now, because I need to refer to the book to get what settings we're supposed to add here. And what I want to do is we're going to add padding to this. So we're going to go ahead and no margins, but just padding. We're going to add, and this we're going to use the shortcut. We're going to add 5 pixels, okay, to the top and bottom, and we're going to add 0 pixels left and right. So I'm going to go ahead and add 5 pixels, 5px, and 0px. Okay, so that's what we're doing with the padding. And notice is how they're updating as I do that. And now to margins. Do we want to add a margin? Yeah, we do. We're going to add margins. We're going to add 5 and 0 as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use a shortcut for that. 5px and 0 pixels. Px. Hit the tab key and we'll fix that. Now, the last thing that's sort of most important is that the border top, we're going to leave it 10 pixels. So let's go to border and let's go to top, because we didn't have a border for a top before. So on border top, we're going to add solid. We're going to add the width, 10 pixels. And the style will be solid. Style, solid. And the color will be what we used before. So, but then we have to specify to the left that we don't want any, because we're changing it from what we had done before. So let's change the color. Otherwise, it inherits those settings from what we've used before. Okay. Notice that the left still exists, and notice how the type is butt up against that left border. So what we want to do now for the left, okay, is we need to specify, and we need to say that we want, for the left, we want width. We want none, 0. Okay, so in pixels, we want 0. Make sure that that's put in as a 0. Sometimes it doesn't take. There we go. So it goes away. And now we have done a nice job here. We have, what do we have here? We have styled and made our information a little bit more concise, more easily readable. Added minimal styles to it, and we have made it work for our media query. So when it drops down in size here, you know, on a smartphone, on a teeny tiny little smartphone, it looks really good. It looks better. Again, readability is probably the most important thing. So next thing, which I probably should have been doing all along, is I'm going to go ahead and save this. Save as. And I want this to be, I'm going to make this a working file. So it'll be contact us. Working file. There we go. So I know, and make sure that it's saved inside your root folder. Now, one more thing that I have to do, excuse me, is notice that it saved the page, but it didn't save the styles. That's something you always have to remember to do. You can save the styles separately, or just remember to say save all. Okay. Keep checking, make sure that everything works and that there's no mess ups, no screw ups. If I come back in here, I might have an extra paragraph tag, and I do. See how there's an extra P tag? That's why I'm noticing that there's extra space here. If you want that extra space, I suppose you can leave it, but I don't. I want it to be consistent throughout. So I need to get rid of that. I don't think there's any place else that yeah, up here where transportation. So if I click on there, I'll notice that there's probably a P tag in here too. Yeah, there we go. I don't know how I did that. But again, there's those little things that you need to check as you go, and it'll be easier for you to troubleshoot when you do. So it all looks good. Hit Command S to save. And that's all I'm going to cover for today. Again, I said that I have to cut this short today, and we will cover, starting Thursday, we'll cover tables. And those are quite, you know, when they are formatted properly and styled correctly, they really are stunning. They really look really, really well, but they take a bit of work to do that. And so it'll probably take the better part of us. On next class, we may have to, you know, finish it up when we come back from spring break to get that done. So if there aren't any questions, let me go ahead and take roll while you guys are here. So I'm going to pause the recording and take roll, and then we'll call it a day. So let me go ahead and pause. Okay, so this was an easy one today. I hope all of you are caught up with the lesson and are working on your MobiRise website and maybe putting some final touches, or, you know, on that, you know, experimenting with different formats, different styles of layouts and that sort of thing. But that will be it for today. Okay. No questions from anybody? No? No? Okay. Okay, then. Then everybody have a good afternoon, and I will see all of you on Thursday. And we'll tackle one of the hardest parts of formatting these things. Okay? So, bye-bye.